everyone, and to all of my Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and to all of my totally awesome walking dudes and dudettes. It's your girl Claire again. I hope that you're all doing well. Back again with another video. People in England are being asked to work from home again if possible, and face masks will be compulsory in most public places as part of the new rules to limit the spread of Omicron. COVID passes will also be needed to get into nightclubs and large venues next week. The government was moving up to its backup plan. It's not a lockdown, it's plan B. From Friday, face masks will be required in more public settings, including theatres and cinemas. From Monday, people will be asked to work from home when possible. From Wednesday, the NHS COVID pass will also be required for visitors, nightclubs and on-food venues. Johnson said Christmas parties and nativity plays should still go ahead as long as guidance is involved. The best way to ensure we all have a Christmas as close to normal as possible is to get on with plan B. Irritating though it may be, it is not a lockdown. Ministers have repeatedly said there are no plans for another lockdown in England. Many of the questions the PM faced centred on the row over the Downing Street Christmas party at the height of lockdown rules last year. People in Wales and Scotland have already been told to work from home if possible, and Northern recently strengthened its advice. COVID passes are also currently required for venues in Scotland, Wales and Ireland. In England, people will be exempt from showing their COVID passports when attending religious worship, weddings and funerals. Excuse me. In England, all contacts of suspected Omicron cases will have to self-isolate for 10 days, even if they are fully vaccinated. Says people should work from home when possible and will have to show their COVID status for entry to many venues. From Friday the 10th of December, face coverings will be mandatory for most indoor public venues, including places of worship, theatres and cinemas, as well as in shops and on public transport. Masks will still not be needed in hospitality settings such as pubs or restaurants, nor in venues where it is not practical to wear them, for instance when exercise or singing takes place. From Monday the 13th of December, people should work from home if they can. From Wednesday the 15th of December, subject to parliamentary approval, people will need an NHS COVID pass or a negative lateral flow test to gain entry to nightclubs, indoor city venues, and unseated outdoor venues, and any venue at all. Pupils at secondary schools are being Pupils at secondary schools are being strongly advised to wear face coverings in communal areas. The guidance also applies to staff and visitors at all schools and childcare settings. Secondary school pupils in Wales are being urged to wear face masks in classrooms and communal areas. Staff and students in colleges and universities should also wear face coverings inside. All contacts of suspected Omicron cases will be contacted by their local contact tracing system and required to self-isolate for 10 days regardless of their age or vaccination status. Anyone travelling to the UK has to take a PCR or lateral flow test no more than 48 hours before their departure and take a PCR test within 48 hours of arrival. In the UK, they must self-isolate until they have a negative result. 1 metre plus social distancing remains in places such as hospitals and passport control. People are advised to test for COVID before going to crowded places or spending time with those at greater risk. Anyone testing positive has to self-isolate. Booster jabs will be offered to all over 18s. The gap between second dose and booster will be reduced to 3 months from 6. People with weakened immune systems will be offered a 4th dose as a booster no sooner than 3 months after their 3rd. Children aged 12 to 15 will be invited for a 2nd dose 3 months after their 1st. Vulnerable people will be contacted first, followed by older age groups and younger ones. People are being urged not to try to book their booster until the NHS says it's their turn. Every eligible person in England and Scotland should be able to book their booster by the end of January, although some may be given a later date. NHS COVID Pass needed to enter nightclubs, cinemas, theatres and concert halls and many other indoor and outdoor events, working from home whenever possible. Face coverings compulsory on public transport and in shops and hospitals. A limit of 30 people from different households mixing indoors and domestic settings. Face coverings compulsory in shops, indoor seated venues and visitor attractions. Public transport and some other settings. Post-primary pupils must wear face covering inside school buildings as well as on school transport. Staff are encouraged to wear masks in school areas where they can't socially distance. Vaccine passports for venues including nightclubs, bars and cinemas. Physical distancing rules remain in healthcare settings such as hospitals, GP surgeries and dentists where the 2 metre rule applies. Face covering still compulsory on public transport and inside places like shops. All school staff and secondary pupils wear face coverings indoors. Indoor hospitality venues must collect customer contact details, working from home if possible. All over 18s required to prove their vaccine status at nightclubs and other venues. From Friday, face coverings will become compulsory in more places in England as the government brings in stricter measures to tackle the Omicron COVID variant. Masks will be mandatory again in most public indoor venues other than hospitality. They had already been reintroduced in shops and on public transport. From Friday, the 10th of December, face coverings will become compulsory again in most public indoor venues such as cinemas, theatres and places of worship. The government has already reintroduced masks in shops and on public transport as well as at transport hubs like railway stations and airports. Secondary school pupils are also strongly advised to wear masks in communal areas, and as are staff and visitors at all schools and childcare settings. Masks are already compulsory for staff and customers in hairdressers, tattoo salons and nail bars, post offices and banks, estate agents, vet surgeries, takeaways, pharmacies, auction houses, taxis, driving lessons and tests. Under 12s are exempt, as are those who can't wear face covering for medical reasons. There will be exceptions for situations where it's not practical to wear face covering, such as when you are eating, drinking, singing or exercising. And dancing. Doesn't say it, but you know. Just want to throw dancing in there too. And swimming and all of that. The government says that's why face masks will not be required in pubs, restaurants or gyms, although previous guidance recommended wearing masks in all crowded settings. Until the 19th of July, customers in England were required to wear masks in hospitality settings were not seated. Also to people who don't wear face coverings. Scotland, masks must be worn in shops and public transport and in pubs and restaurants are not seated. They are compulsory for all school staff as well as secondary school pupils and are required in indoor public spaces and universities. Northern Ireland, post-primary pupils must wear face coverings inside school buildings, as must staff if they can't socially distance, and masks must also be worn in public transport and in shops and hospitality venues. In Wales, masks are legally required on public transport and in all public indoor areas apart from pubs and restaurants. Secondary school pupils are asked to wear masks in class. Surely that's a bit impractical, but never mind. People in England should start working at home again if they can. Governments in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland have already advised people to work from home if possible because of the new Omicron variant. In England, people should return to working from home if they can from Monday the 13th of December. Boris Johnson said, "Well, go to work if you must, but work from home if you can." Nicola Sturgeon, on the other hand, has told employees that they should ensure that all staff have worked from home at the start of the pandemic are able to do so again until at least the middle of January. The Northern Ireland minister said that more people working from home would help to reduce the risk of infection both inside and outside the workplace. However, they stopped short of ordering employers to impose home working, instead asking them to support it where possible. In Wales, employers are encouraged to let people work from home where possible. Guidance says staff should not be required or placed under pressure to return to the workplace unless there's a clear business need. Although social distancing limits no longer apply across most of the UK, businesses still have a legal duty to manage the risks to staff and customers, minimising visitors, improving ventilation, using one-way systems and additional cleaning. Working from home is one of the most effective ways to reduce social exposure. Much of the risk depends on how crowded it is and your distance from other people. Wearing a mask helps, as does keeping windows open and avoiding peak journey times where possible. Mandatory face mask. The reintroduction of the work from home order for those who can from Monday. The extension of mandatory face mask wearing to most public indoor venues, including theatres and cinemas, from Friday. However, there will be exceptions when it is not practical, such as when eating, drinking, exercising or singing, and dancing and swimming and all that. The NHS COVID Pass, commonly referred to as a vaccine passport, will be made mandatory in a week's time for nightclubs and venues with large crowds. People will be able to use the pass to show either proof of 2 vaccine doses or a negative lateral flow test result. Come on, stupid phone, it's so slow. Reintroducing guidance to work from home if you can from the 13th of December, legally mandating face masks in most public indoor venues, theatres and cinemas from the 10th of December, with exceptions when it's not practical, including while eating, drinking, exercising and singing. And it says COVID passes for nightclubs, indoor seated venues and outside unseated venues and any other venues. Daily testing for people identified, with isolation required only for people who test positive. Face masks were only a legal requirement in shops, banks, post offices, hairdressers and on public transport in England as of the 30th of November. Ethical thing to do. Supposedly, allegedly, apparently. People in England should return to working from home. Anyone wanting to enter large venues such as nightclubs will need to prove their COVID status. The rule on face mask wearing will also be extended to almost all indoor locations from Friday. The new work from home guidance will come into force from Monday, and COVID status will be required to enter large venues from next Wednesday. Face mask rule, the PM said it would apply in places such as theatres and cinemas, but said there will of course be exceptions where it is not practical, such as when eating, drinking, exercising or singing. The new measures come on top of the rule enforcing mask wearing in shops and public transport. England will be moving to Plan B in a bid to tackle the rising number of COVID-19 cases. The Omicron variant continues to spread throughout the UK. COVID passports will be required from next Wednesday in England in order to enter some indoor and larger outdoor venues. Access to nightclubs and other venues. Already in England, the rules on face coverings have been reintroduced on public transport and shops. However, from Friday this will be expanded to hospitality venues such as theatres and cinemas. from Monday, people should work from home if they can, in a bid to reduce the number of people they come into contact with and help stop COVID cases from rising. Some workplaces are still operating the work from home policies left over from the lockdowns of last year. Currently, if someone comes into contact with an individual who has tested positive, they must self-isolate at home for 10 days regardless of vaccination status. People are already advised to work from home in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, and some form of vaccine passport is in operation. So, yeah. People in England should return to working from home. The rule on face mask wearing will also be extended Friday. Quickly. Should be so yeah. So, you want a college update? I did get a call from Alison on Tuesday. To sort of say why I suddenly stopped attending in like October. And then I sort of explained to her. That because I wasn't enrolled in the system, like fully enrolled in whatever, that's why. And I had to restart my EHCP plan, and they're still trying to get it sorted. And she was gonna like call me on like Wednesday, so yesterday, but she didn't. Hopefully I'll still call over tomorrow or like Friday. But also, I've also been talking to Danny again, and he was like saying that he was at his Wednesday group, DDM, Dance, Drama, Music, or whatever it's called, whatever it stands for. That Wednesday group that he's in Wednesdays. I think Janine is in that one. Yeah. And I was like, oh, you should totally join, because I storyboarded you like my girlfriend in like this little film that we're gonna do, because they make like films and stuff, and it's like really cool. So we'll see with the whole college situation. We'll see where that goes, and then I'll decide from there before I completely jump ship, like jump the shark or whatever. We'll see with the whole college situation where that goes before, but thanks for suggesting that, Danny. I'll bear that in mind. But we shall see. I just want this bloody college situation to sort itself out, and then we'll see where. Because obviously I can't do both college and the DDM group on Wednesdays. That would just be too much. They'll be expecting too much of me. But yeah, we'll see. And also, my mum has her CT scan on Friday, this coming Friday, at the time of this video being filmed, to take pictures of her foot, because she had like several broken bones. So yeah, and then I think her operation will be sometime next week, probably. I don't know. But we'll see. So yeah, hopefully Alison will call me either tomorrow or Friday, just to sort of see what can be done with this whole thing, whether I will be allowed to come back on the course or not. Then I'll let you guys know. But yeah, so I think that's everything. And also the whole Downing Street Christmas party thing last year. Yeah, you might have seen that on the news, but anyway. So thank you all so much for watching. If you like what you see, please feel free to leave a like, comment down below, share this video and subscribe and turn on the notification bell. This has been your girl Claire, signing off, wishing you peace, love and happiness. So peace out to all of my Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, and keep on rocking, you totally awesome rocking dudes and dudettes. And to all of my loyal pros and proesses and kings and queens and princesses and princes, good night and see you in another video. Bye and peace out.